Hi, this is Sam Collins of the American Acupuncture Council, and welcome to our monthly show on issues according to acupuncture, things that affect acupuncture. As your malpractice carer, we want to make sure you're as successful as possible, and we do several things. Of course, we do our seminars, our network, and our digital coding, but we also provide this program with the goal of trying to just give information for practitioners to help aid your practice, to help continue to build your success, and to enjoy what you're doing as a licensed acupuncturist. So this month, we brought someone in I think is a unique topic, and something that often is not thought of about dealing with our patients and just their personality. So we have Jay Sordean, a licensed acupuncturist that has written an article on something called personality science in a clinical setting. He writes for Acupuncture Today, as I do. And his specific issue today, or thing he'll bring up with us today, is about just understanding your patient and their personality. So Dr. Jay, welcome. I'm really happy that you spent some time with us.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. I've taken many of the insurance workshops that you do. They're fantastic. Again, I'm an AAC member, had the malpractice policy 25, 30, I don't know how long, but a lot of years, and you guys have provided lots of service for me. So I'm very happy to be here today.
Well, thanks. So let's make sure everyone knows your background. So, I know you've been in practice quite a long time. So give us a little bit of your history, how long you've been an acupuncturist.
All right. Well, in 1983, I moved from Philadelphia, where I was translating Japanese research on cancer for the National Cancer Institute, to California, because back then there were very few states where it was legal to practice acupuncture. So I passed the exam in December 1983 and became licensed then. And back then, the exam also included a real person. You had to actually locate points on a real person. And of course, there were the other issues. There's the acupuncture and the Chinese herbs that were part of the exam. But even back then, when we became licensed, we were certified acupuncturists, so we were CA. But later on, the profession, we all worked and changed it to licensed acupuncturists, so that's where we are today.
Oh, fantastic. So you've been around a while. So now the thing being that you've been, 35 plus years, what would you say are the things that you have found important to the success of a practice?
Well, having a broad knowledge of what's going on is very important. One of the things that I've also noticed over the years is we have so many more schools. We went from 13 to 50. We have a broader insurance coverage. And again, taking classes on how to deal with insurance, if you are dealing with it, very, very important, because there's always changes going on. There's twists and turns that occur. Now, in California, we're part of we're qualified medical evaluators as well in the workers' comp system. And so that's something that has changed over the years. And for those who want to do it, it's complicated. It's changed over the years. But I think that's a good area to go into if you can. And also, with respect to a practice, I think it's important to charge fees that cover your costs plus a little extra. And I've noticed over the years, there are some insurance plans that still cover sufficiently for the different codes, the acupuncture codes, that are, they actually recognize the professionalism and the expertise that we have. And there's a lot of others that are just undercutting things. So that's been an issue for me. I think actually the 97810, compared to 1983 when I first started, it should be at least $125 from my experience. And a lot of the things that people are charging now are the same rates that were in 1983. And so I think you need, number one, is to charge sufficiently to recognize your professionalism and also to make a living. Now, getting into the other issues, there are three areas. One is marketing. One is patient retention and getting good treatment results, and communication. Those are three key areas every practitioner needs to focus on in order to have a thriving practice and successful with their patients. And so of these three, I think communicating with the patient is one of the key elements, because it has to do with marketing and it also has to do with treatment results.
Right. Okay. So we're dealing with the patient. We have to communicate. So now that's what really piqued me. I read your article that was in AT. That was this past February, and it talked about communicating with the patient with their different personality types. So can you kind of give me, what's the basis of that? Because each patient being a little different, you're saying we should communicate with each patient slightly differently?
That's correct. When we communicate face-to-face, here we're speaking in English. Now, if you spoke Chinese and I only spoke English, there would be a big barrier there. So it's important to speak in the other person's language. And that doesn't just mean like speaking Chinese if they speak Chinese, Japanese if they speak Japanese, Tagalog or Spanish. Of course, that's helpful. That's a good thing. But actually what I'm talking about is languages have, there's a structure of values that is integrated into language and how we speak back and forth. And if we better understand the other person's values, then we can speak in a way that touches upon those values, and that resonates more deeply at an emotional level, and we create a stronger and deeper connection with that patient, and that's going to improve our success.
So well, then how do we, how do we choose, or what are we saying we're doing with this patient then to understand is it a personality type? What are you looking to recognize in order to get that better communication?
So there are a variety of different models. I'm going to talk a bit more about bank code, which is a personality typing system here. And that's what was the focus of the article in the Acupuncture Today, February 2018 issue. But there are things like neuro-linguistic programming also. Some people may know about it, some may not. It's NLP abbreviated. And for example, when I'm educating a patient, it's important for me to know whether they're very visually oriented. If they are, then I will bring out charts and I'll bring out models. And then I use those charts and models to explain what's going on. And because they're visually oriented, that resonates with how they learn. And if someone is kinesthetic, which means more feeling oriented, if a person is speaking more slowly in general, then sometimes it may want you to jump in and fill the space. If they're speaking very slowly, it means that they are more feeling oriented. They're more kinesthetic. And so maybe bring out a model and have them hold it. Or as you're working with them, you're going to do more palpation of the body, because that is what resonates with them. That's how they communicate more effectively. So that's one model. That's neuro-linguistic programming. Now, for the past 5 years, I've been certified and licensed in what's called bank code personality system. And that particular communication system helps to improve compliance. In other words, if I speak using their personality type versus the one I might normally do, then they're more likely to follow the treatment plan. They're more likely to buy in to my analysis of what they need. And so if it's like 2 treatments a week for 18 weeks, then they may go, whoa. But if I couch it in the terms of the values that they hold, then they will be more likely to follow through on it. I will get great success. They will get great success. And so that's where both marketing, treatment results, and communication all come together. So,
okay. So in other words, we're looking at a patient saying, we're coming up with a treatment plan and what they're going to need, but we've got to communicate it in such a way to them that they get the understanding, so they'll complete that treatment plan and understand it. Now, you said something called bank. So I'm assuming BANK. So what does that mean to us? How am I going to use that?
So BANK stands for the 4 letters of the 4 personality types that this system promotes or has discovered. And B stands for blueprint, A stands for action, N stands for nurturing, and K stands for knowledge. And this particular system called Bank Code was developed by a woman whose name is Sherry Tree. Now, she was in multi-level marketing and real estate and things of that nature. And when she was trying to get her teams together, she went through all kinds of personality testing programs, Myers-Briggs and DISC and things like that. And she tried those to see if she could improve her ability to sell or persuade others that coming into this MLM was a good thing. And nothing seemed to work. She kept messing up. She just didn't make more money. And so what she did, she started figuring out, well, she said, what are my mess ups? Where did I make a mistake? How would this person have bought into the system if I had approached it in a different way? So she reverse engineered that information and came up with these particular, what are called value cards or personality types. And so that's what this is. It's a system that originally was created in order to better persuade people to buy into a win-win situation. And that's what we're all about, is having a win-win situation in our clinic. So our desire to help people is fulfilled, and their desire to get solutions to their problems are also fulfilled.
Okay, so the one thing I find for acupuncturists that's difficult is, obviously acupuncture works well, but often just getting people convinced and understand it and do enough treatments in order to resolve it. So that's certainly where the treatment plan comes in. So now you said that the B is for blueprint. So what does that mean, a blueprint? Is that a personality type that we would do different for a person with a blueprint than an action, or am I misunderstanding?
No, that's exactly correct. So there are 4 personality types, and there's a set of cards that we use that is one way that we can analyze that person's personality type very quickly. So, for example, when a patient first comes in, I have them fill out a health history questionnaire form, and then I hand them the 4 cards, and I say, do me a favor, take a look at the information on these 4 cards, and then sort them according to what's most important to you on top to least important on the bottom. This is a fun thing to do, and it's going to help me improve the way I communicate to you. Now, in that invitation to them, we're actually touching upon all 4 personality types. So no matter what type they are, something's going to resonate and they're going to do it. And it's very, very fun for people to do this, pretty much. And depending on how quickly they do it, that may be a clue as to what personality type is the top or the bottom. So you ask about the blueprint type. So blueprint is blue because that is sort of like the paper that's used for blueprints. It's something that's very structured. It's a step-by-step process. It has a lot to do with credentials. So if this person is a blueprint type, then for one thing, they are risk averse. They want everything to be very predictable. They want safety. So if this person is blueprint, then first of all, you may say, well, you know, I have this credential, that credential, this credential, that credential. And so that may give them a little more assurance that you know what you're doing. Also, when you're going through the treatment plan, you say, no, we have a step-by-step process that's proven. And so that step-by-step and proven is matching how they feel about the world, the fact that they don't want to take risks. They want everything to be comfortable and secure. So that's like an example of the blueprint type person. And one of the things I did when I've been doing this 5 years, and so I did a survey of many of my patients, and all the new patients, obviously, when they come in, they do this. And the patients who I haven't done this with, I actually do this as well. And I did a survey because I'm more the knowledge type, which has to do with learning and research, and so I like to do these little research projects. And I'm a little skeptical, so I want to see, is this really real? Does this really work, or is it totally bogus? And so the survey that I did of my patients, I found that 66% of the patients were actually nurturing type. And that was kind of surprising to me. And none of that was nurturing type as the first personality card. And none of them were the blueprint type. And that was very interesting to me, because I was thinking, well, what is it about my practice or myself that is creating this? At least 25% of the population is not coming in to the practice for some reason. And so the blueprint type is more traditional. It has to do with traditions. And so I think they're a little more skeptical of acupuncture. It may be more difficult for them to say, oh, well, this isn't traditional medicine, so it's less likely for them to spontaneously decide to go into acupuncture. But anyway, that's sort of the blueprint type.
Okay, so now let's just say, because I see here that the blueprint, then there's one that says nurturing, you know, the N, which makes sense to me. But for instance, what might you do if someone is a blueprint type in doing a treatment plan compared to a person that's an action type? You know, what approach do you do differently for either?
All right, very good question. So the action type individual is someone who likes fun. They're very spontaneous. They are interested in freedom and opportunity. And quite often the action type, if you run a pretty tight ship in your practice, in other words, someone is supposed to come in at 9, they have to be there at 9 or a little before that. The action type person is going to be exactly at that time or a little late. So you have to anticipate that that's what's going to happen. Now, the blueprint is sort of the opposite. They tend to show up 15 or 20 minutes early. And to them, 15 and 20 minutes early is on time. So if you, for example, it's happened to me, I have some people who are blueprint as the first type in the practice. And if I schedule them after my lunch break, so for example, I'm out from 1 to 2, if they're scheduled at 2, I make it a point to be back at 20 till 2 because they're going to be there waiting. And so an action type I could show right up at 2 and they're probably coming in the door at the same time as I am. That's one thing. It's a behavioral difference as far as a treatment plan. The action type person wants to get in and out as quickly as possible because they're all about let's get stuff done. And so if you tend to have longer acupuncture treatments, you might want to shorten them for that person. And that will be okay with them because they want to get in and out. If you have, like for example, some people do like a 4-day report or a 3-day report process, where at the end of the 3 days or 4 days, they will present the treatment plan to the patient. Now, as a knowledge type person, myself, I like lots of information. I make decisions based on a lot of information. So in the past, I would create this fairly thick report that has all the different lab tests and tongue and pulse and charts and things of that nature that I would show the person as a way to walk them through it and say, this is why you should do it. Now, for an action type person, that's a deal killer. They just want bullet points. So like once I learned this, I found out some patients were action types. I would have this big report. And I'd say, here's the report. We could go through it in detail if you like, or we can just cut to the chase. And they would say, cut to the chase. I just how much is it going to cost and how long is it going to take? That's the action type person. So modifying the approach in presenting the treatment plan is very important depending on the person's personality type.
Okay, I like that. So in other words, we're taking a look at each patient individually, obviously to treat and get rid of their condition, but also how to approach them, because often getting them to understand the care is probably the biggest hurdle for them to get better. So now the other one we have here, you said knowledging. What about a nurturing type? So that's the N. So a nurturing person, what is that person like?
So the nurturing individual is someone, so I know that we didn't, one thing that people could do now, if we have time, like a minute or two, they could take out a piece of paper and a pen, and they could sit and just sort of brainstorm in their own head, what are the values that they have that really drive them? Why are they an acupuncturist? What is important to them in life? And if they want to sit there at this moment, they could sit there and just with the piece of paper and sort of brainstorm a little bit, writing down these things that are very important to them. What motivates them? It could be their family. It could be money. It could be service to humanity. It could be, I don't know, all those different things. So if people are writing those things down at this moment, that will be helpful because later on we're going to actually give people the opportunity to do their own bank code analysis as a gift from me. And then they can compare what they wrote down spontaneously with what they ended up with. So what I'd like is for people to continue writing for like another 15 seconds, just brainstorming. And you don't have to worry about what it is. Don't judge yourself. Don't say, oh, this is good or bad, because none of these values are either good or bad. They just are. So for example, now you can set your paper and your pen aside now. And so let's talk a little bit about the nurturing. So the nurturing is this orange card, and it's orange because it's like a sunflower. Now, the values that the nurturing person has are related to relationships. And so community and charity, harmony, morality, these are all key terms and values that a nurturing type person will be attracted to. And that's why they would say, this is my primary type, is the nurturing type. So the nurturing type tends to be more oriented about serving other people. And it's a heart-to-heart connection, and relationship is what is going to sell them on the process. So here, many acupuncturists are very service-oriented. And again, I mentioned in my practice, 66% of the people coming into my practice had nurturing as the primary personality type when we did that, when they did the cards. So the nurturing type person is always thinking, how can I help somebody else? No, on the other hand, it may be that they may not be taking care of themselves very well. They will tend to spend money on other people, and they won't spend it on themselves. So one of the ways that I approach the treatment plan for them is saying, listen, I know that you are taking care of, for example, your grandchildren, and your daughter depends on you for advice. And, you know, it's very important that you will be there for them long into the future because they really depend on you. Is that true? And they'll say, yes, that's true. They do depend on me. Well, from that standpoint, you need to take care of your own health. I'm speaking to the nurturing person now. You need to take care of your health so that you can be there to help them in the future. So when I understand the values of the nurturing person, which is service to others, then I can give that treatment proposal to them and treatment plan and say, the reason why it's important for you to do this, and I know maybe you don't want to spend money on yourself, but you have to invest in yourself so that you can be there to take care of others in the future because they depend on you. Is that not true? Don't you want to be around to take care of these people? So that's how the nurturing person is best approached in order to actually follow through, because they probably won't spend the money otherwise on themselves.
Okay, so this is a good, so we're breaking down kind of 4 basic groups, but kind of understanding our patient and communicate.
That's correct.
Indicated we have, probably a little bit more nurturing. I think that is, just thinking of that in general. I think more people I know probably fit that, but I definitely know a few action patients. So now when a patient comes in, then you do this only with the cards. Is there any way, do you ever, or how'd you start? Did you start just by kind of doing it in kind of just a free form and then decided to use the cards to help, get a little bit more specific?
Over the past 5 years that I've been doing it, Bank Code has been around maybe 7 years. When I first got it, the cards were much larger. They were like, like very large index card size. And they gradually made them smaller so it's easier to carry in your pocket. But there is also an online version, which is very handy. It's called Bank Pass. And so at this point, I think it'd be great to offer all of our participants, all the people on this webinar, to go to four-cards.com, which is 4 with a little dash cards.com. So people can go on their cell phones, people can go on their computers, and they go to 4-cards.com. And that is a website. At the top, it says BANK. So they click on that, and that will take them to the online program called Bank Pass. And Bank is the Blueprint Action Nurturing Knowledge, and Pass is Personality Assessment Success System. So on your computer or on your cell phone, you go down to the bottom, and there are the 4 cards, and you read the information on the 4 cards, and then you sort the cards. You just take your finger or your mouse, and you move them around on the screen until it says first priority, second, third, fourth. Once you've got those figured out, then you press submit the cards at the bottom, and you enter your name, and you enter your phone number, and you enter your email twice, which is most programs, they want to make sure the email is correct. And then there's a drop-down menu as far as where are you located. Now, that seems to be the trickiest thing because it's a drop-down menu, so you just have to choose, and then you press done. And then it should say DRJAY, Dr. J, under the access code. Typically, if you were just going in off the internet, If you didn't have my code, it cost $97 for this analysis. But because you have my code, it is a free gift from me. So once you do that, you press it, and on the screen, you will see your analysis of your primary code. And you will get an email as well. Now, what's interesting about this is most people love it, and people can go ahead and do that. And I'd like you to take a look and compare what you have in your own bank code personality analysis to what you wrote down on your values on that sheet that we just spent a little time doing brainstorming, and see how consistent that is, because I think you'll find it is quite consistent. Now, once you find out your own primary personality type or second, then you can assume that that is how you operate in the world pretty much automatically. And that can be a problem. If you're a nurturing type, then you're going to nurture people, but you might neglect money. And if you're in an acupuncture practice, money, you have to have cash flow for it to operate. And you might be neglecting the money side of things. So knowing something about your personality will also give you a clue as to the areas you need to increase and improve upon.
Well, I like that, Dr. J, because that's certainly, I think, something that often is missed. Acupuncturists will give away more services because they're nurturing, which is good. So in fact, we really are going to do two things here: get a better understanding of our patients to make sure we're communicating with them, but also understanding ourselves and how we can make ourselves better. Nothing wrong with being nurturing, but there are going to be times, I think, to take off that nurturing hat and put on a business hat. So that part I like. So kind of as a wrap up, I'll say that this is an interesting way of approaching it. I think many of us probably have thought of this a little bit, but never really took it to heart to really break it down in the way that you've done. So you mentioned the 4 cards, so they can go there with that. So I appreciate that. Do you offer any courses? Do you teach anything or anything? So I'm going to make sure that if someone wants to contact you.
So yes, Sam, I have a continuing education program that provides 10 hours of continuing education units right now for California, but I hope to do it nationally. People can go to, again, 4-cards.com to get information about that. The online program is the full access program that Bank Code has. So it actually has not only just the fundamentals, but it also has the more advanced programs. Now, it is a subscription basis, so I just want to be clear that if you're going to do only the 10 hours, within 28 days, you need to cancel the subscription and make sure that you've finished that fundamentals part, or else you will be charged ongoing. There is a massive, there's probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of other sales, education, etc., that you have access to, and so you may want to continue on with it. But there's also, I also am available as a trainer to come to schools or to companies and to talk about this and do in-service. And it's a lot of fun. People often find that knowing what their personality type is and then interacting with others is very helpful. And the last thing is, one of the things I really love about this is that I use this at a lot of networking opportunities. It could be Chamber of Commerce mixers. It could be when I'm out doing other kinds of just continuing education classes, whatever. This is a great icebreaker. You pull out the cards and give them the script, and people love it. And you learn something about them, and it's a great way to better practice your communication skills with them.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Dr. J, I appreciate it. I think this was it was very enlightening to me, and that's what made me excited to hear about it. I want to encourage everyone to take a look at your own personality of your patients, because, of course, your success, our success. As your malpractice carrier, American Acupuncture Council, we're here to support you. Don't forget, we do offer our own continuing education courses. We do offer specifically for billing, coding, documentation, new coding, and all the things updates. You're probably going to see some emails that have come out. Please make sure that you're coming, because if you aren't, you're missing out on all the payments from VA and others. There's a lot of great things occurring for acupuncture, of course, because of opioid abuse. The push towards acupuncture has been phenomenal with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So take a look at our website. It's aacinfonetwork.com. Take a look at all our upcoming programs. We also offer a day-to-day service where you can call, email, or fax us with any type of issue. Could be coding and billing, but also just help with dealing with a denial. We're here for you at the American Acupuncture Council, and we thank you for spending some time with us. And thank you, Dr. J. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sam, for all the hard work you do for the acupuncturists across this country.